States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Business items today. Item 1 is the recommendation to approve the minutes from the special meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second. We have Mayor Bash, motion. Vice Chair.
Chair Malone,
Yes.
Vice Chair McGregor,
Yes.
Board members Kevin Bash,
Yes.
Linda Dixon,
Abstain.
Brian Petrie.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Item B on the agenda is the purchase of the sale of Successor agency property.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the Oversite Board. The recommendation before you is for the Oversite Board to approve a purchase and sale agreement between the city and the Successor agency to the former redevelopment agency of the city of Blanco. In your January meeting, we presented information to you with respect to the progress that has been made in an attempt to sell the property, which was in the market, had been in the market for over a year. At that time, Cosmo, who is the broker for this parcel of property, did present a progress report. But before I turn it over to Brian Moncrief, who is representing Cosmo, let me provide some recap in terms of background information on the property and how we got to where we are today. So the property was acquired by the former Norfolk Redevelopment Agency in 2008. This is a parcel that consists of 1.63 acres of vacant parcel. At the time of acquisition, the Redevelopment Agency paid $1.3 million, to be precise, $1,330,000. And the goal of purchasing that property was to expand or attract new auto dealers in the city of Blanco. And then following the acquisition of that property, the state dissolved the redevelopment agency effective February 1 of 2012, pursuant to Assembly Bill X-126. Following that dissolution of the redevelopment agency, the city council voted to serve as a successor agency to the former redevelopment agency. One of the duties that is required of successor agencies is to perform all the duties that are necessary in the wind down of the redevelopment agency. Once the city council voted to be the successor agency to the dissolved agency, the process includes the disposition of real properties that were owned by the former redevelopment agency. But in order to dispose those properties, the city first of all had to put together a long-range property management plan. That plan was put in place by the city and was first approved on October 23, 2013. And subsequent to that, the long-range property management plan was amended and then approved again on February 6, 2015. At the time the long-range property management plan was put in place, that property was appraised, and the appraised value at that time was $780,000. So then, once we had secured the approval from the Department of Finance back in October of 2013, in 2014, the city engaged Cosmo Realty Corporation to market the properties for sale. And they did do activities to market that property. And as I stated, the property was put in the market back in 2014. As part of their marketing efforts, they reached out to adjacent property owners and sought their interest in purchasing this property. They also put out a signboard at the property They also prepared a property flyer that was widely distributed through industry trade shows and such. And Brian can speak a little more to that when I'm finished with my remarks here. And so, following that, some offers were received initially, and those offers were reviewed, and then in late January, all the interested parties who had previously submitted an offer were asked to present their best and final offer. The best and final offer that was received at that particular time ranged from $300,000 to $801,225,000. And one of the company, On Point Realty, that bid for $801,225. One of they proposed to build a light industrial type building on that property, which of course is not compliant with the auto mall zoning requirements. However, following the presentation of best and final offer, and in that best and final offer, Blanco Truck Center, which currently operates the used car dealership here in the city, was one of the interested parties that submitted an offer when the best and initial offer. And in the best and final offer, Blanco Truck Center did provide an offer of $550,000. And subsequent to that best and final offer, Blanco Truck Center did call Cosmo and then made an additional offer, increased their offer to $750,000. And then subsequent to that, increased it again to $800,000. And so that is the process that has taken place. And again, in trying to meet the objectives for which that property was acquired, which again is essentially to spur economic development by way of increased sales tax and increase in bringing another dealership here in the city of Blanco. The city wants to meet that goal, and it has an opportunity to meet that goal by using this property as a package for economic incentive to Paul Blanco's Good Car Company of Inland Empire. And as a result of that, having established the market value for which this property, the market value for this property, and again, that was based on the market process and the offers that were received, the staff recommended to the city council for the city to purchase this property for $805,000 in order to realize the original plan for which this property was acquired. What you have before you today, again, is a purchase and sale agreement between the city and the Successor agency to enable the city to purchase this property for $805,000. And of course, the city council has approved that recommendation, but it's subject to the approval of the Oversite board. I just want to add that once this property is sold, the net receipts from the sale of this property will be sent to the auditor controller, the county auditor controller, who will then distribute the proceeds from the sale of this property to the affected taxing entities. And those affected taxing entities will include mainly the school district, the county, the city of Blanco, the flood control district, the office of county office of education, and the rest of the counties that would typically share in the revenues or tax increments that were generated by the former redevelopment agency. And with that, let me just make a couple of comments on issues that have been circulated falsely in social media, and that deals with the misrepresentation that Blanco Truck Center did offer $850,000 to purchase this property. Certainly, the city is not aware of any such offers. At the time, the city stopped accepting offers on this property. And again, as I previously stated, their best and final offer, which was received by the broker, was for $550,000, and of course, they subsequently increased that to $800,000. The city, again, did not have not received any offer for $850,000. Again, I want to reiterate the fact that this property wasn't in the market for many, many months. And as far as the staff is concerned with this, our role here is to look at what benefits the city of Norfolk the most with respect to this property. Again, we are required to sell this property based on fair market value, and the fair market value is established in the market process, and that process was exhaustively undertaken, and we believe that the fair market value was established through that process, and that it is in the best interest of the city to purchase this property at the fair market value that was established in order to use it to increase the economic base of the city. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Brian Moncrief to make additional remarks.
Thank you, Executive Director, Honorable Chair, members of the Oversight Board. Thank you for allowing me to be here this morning. To add to the Executive Director's comments, I would just say that, as he mentioned, we were retained in 2014 to list, market, and sell the properties of the former redevelopment agency. This one, which is the subject of our discussion today, was heavily marketed since 2014 through various mediums. I think targeted mailings were kind of what achieved the best result, but we also utilized prominently placed signage, property flyers. We attended many of the local annual trade conferences to market the property to prospective developers, potential investors, and buyers. And throughout that process, I think we achieved a successful result for the Oversight Board, which was really to get offers in that either met or exceeded the value of the property as it is in the P&P, which Mr. Okoro, Executive Director, mentioned was $780,000. So prior to meeting with this Oversight Board to provide an update, we had offers that didn't achieve that former appraised value. And so the Successor agency, doing its fiduciary duty, and Cosmont Realty Corporation doing its fiduciary duty to bring a value in accordance with the Dissolution Act, which is fair market value, to sell this property. At the end of all that, we really spent a significant amount of time trying to market the property and get a buyer that achieved not only the intent of the Automall specific plan and the zoning, but also a value that we think this board would qualify to bring to this board as a fair market value for the property today. So I'm happy to answer questions about the process if there are questions from the members, and thank you for your time.
Does anyone have any questions? I have one. So could you sort of rehash the auto mall zoning and the purpose of that?
The zoning for the auto mall is auto use. And the purpose of that is obviously to make sure that the land in the auto mall has the best and highest use. What that means is that there are certain types of businesses that can locate in the auto mall. And those businesses are businesses that are basically auto dealers. That's the type of businesses that can locate in the auto mall. As I stated previously, one of the offers that was received as part of that best and final offer was On Point Commercial, I believe was the name of the company, that had offered to buy that property and then build some light industrial auto automobile collision repair shops and the maintenance shops and things of that nature. And of course, again, we view that offer as not being compliant with the underlying automobile zoning requirement.
Thank you.
As you know, I've been out of commission for a little bit, and I just have one question. The intent today to approve or disapprove this is strictly the sale of the property and not the intent, not the agreement.
Yeah, the
It's
essential,
just the sale of the
right, the
property.
essential agreement is an agreement actually between the city
Right.
council
Right.
and Paul Blanco's Good Car Company.
Okay.
What the oversight board is here to make a decision on is a sale of the property, which is what you are required and your fiduciary to do.
Okay, I just want to be clear on that.
It's just technically a transfer of the ownership from the successor agency to the city itself, right?
Yes, through a sale process.
And the city will market, resell property eventually. And
Yeah, the city will plans to use this property for economic development purposes, which is the agreement that the city council approved last Wednesday.
Right, so all that land and all the assets of that successor agency then were supposed to be disposed of. So that's what we've been doing over the last 2 years.
Right.
The target center. That's when you got white hair, right?
Yes.
Chair,
Yes,
I have two cards on this item,
okay,
if you wish to hear
sure.
comments at this time. Alfred Shaverdian.
Yes,
Okay.
Shaverdian.
Very
Thank you.
good.
Very good. If I may,
Yes,
my name is Alfred Shaverdian, and I'm a senior commercial realtor. I've been involved in many commercial transactions, and that's my field of expertise. From October of last year, I presented 5 offers in different occasions on the subject property for my client, Mr. Saeed. His business is known as Norco Truck Center, which is located across the street from the subject property. I've known Mr. Saeed over 20 years, and he's a very hardworking, fair, and humble man. All this time, he's been patiently waiting for the city's decision. As a businessman, he also understands if loses the deal for better terms and was offered by the successor, that is understandable. But my client's needs was completely ignored, and no one offered him the same chance that was given to a newcomer. Since I started dealing with the listing agent, Brian Moncrief, he's been telling us all along that city's intention is to give this property to a local businessman that is gonna bring, it's gonna bring a handsome, it's gonna generate a handsome tax revenue for the city. And my client, his record, all these years he's been here, he's been doing business over 6 years in this city. His record is impeccable. He's been generating constantly 1.2 million annually, generating income. At 2 different occasions, I wrote to Mr. Moncrief saying that we are ready to meet anywhere, City Hall, whether it's City Hall or in your office, and beat anybody's price. And so many times I've been ignored by Mr. Moncrief. I've called 5 times, maybe returned once, and it's been sort of mistreated. Let's put it this way. In the meantime, I would like to mention that his record is not speculation, it's not projection. he has shown that he brings 1.2 million annual tax revenue for the city. And that's a fact. And we mentioned a couple of times that by purchasing that property, Mr. Said can push his sale by increasing his inventory and sales. He can increase 50% of the tax revenue. And I think by the way, we have an offer for $850,000, all cash, no loan or appraisal contingencies. In my hand, it's been with a check. And ladies and gentlemen, here's your man. He's a local businessman. He's been many times, couple of occasions, and everything that I tell you, it's been documented. By the way, I've been instructed by Mr. Said that in January, he told me that city contacted him, the mayor of the city contacted him and expressed he offered to help. And I just follow up, contacted the city. Finally, in January 12th of this year, I contacted Mr. Kevin Bosch, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, at his cell, left a message, he called me back, and I mentioned that your office called and offered to help. And he said it must have been during election, that wasn't me, that must have been the previous mayor. So, and I said, okay, that's fine, but this is the situation. We made an offer, and we haven't heard back from, and we have been ignored, you know. So many times we keep on sending offers, raising the offer, offering that we come sit in the city hall, we'll bid anybody's price in open auction. So as soon as I mentioned about that property, the mayor said, stop here, I won't be able to talk to you. It's a conflict of interest and I won't be able to talk to you. And I left it at that. And I don't know what, if mayor of the city cannot get involved in that, I don't know who can. So I think my client is being mistreated. It hasn't been fairly looked at his offers, and he's a local businessman. His record speaks for itself. I don't know who is more qualified than Mr. Said. After all, he was the local businessman. His record is great. It shows, you can check his tax revenue that he generates. And after all that, nobody offered him nothing during this time. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can we ask a question or not?
And everything I have is documented. I have all the letters that I sent.
Pardon? I just said, you had mentioned that he generates 1.2 million annually for the city. Is that in his total sales, or is it
No.
actual tax to the city?
Tax, it
Ms.
generates.
Nixon, if I could clarify that, by the way, we are very happy that you are innocent.
Thank you.
We consider you an important business partner here in the city of Blanco. And I think from time to time, we, as you correctly pointed out, I'm sure city elected officials as well as our economic development office have reached out and to talk to you, try to address your needs as a good business person here in the city of Blanco. With respect to the sales tax numbers, I think what he's referring to is the total sales tax that is generated by his business. Keep in mind that is based on 8%, prior to last year, I believe that was probably based on 8.5%. The city gets 1 out of that 8%. Our analysis is based on the local sales tax that comes into the City of Norfolk general fund. Does not include sales tax that goes to, for transportation that goes to the state and goes to other agencies. Our analysis is based on the net sales tax that comes into the City of Norfolk.
With regard to our conversation, I made notes.
I didn't know it was you, sorry. I didn't know you personally.
Yeah, the reason that I couldn't get involved in it was because you mentioned the property.
Yes.
But legally, I can't, as the mayor, unless you want to get sued, you can't be brokering property. The process has to go through him. So the minute you said the name of the property, legally, I couldn't talk to you about it. In my notes, the whole preamble that you did, you said none of that to me. You said the name of the property, and I said, I'm really sorry, I can't talk to you.
I'm sorry, I didn't tell you what. Am I
All the stuff
exaggerating?
about, yeah, you are. Just so you know, but I just want to make sure.
I like to defend myself. What part am I exaggerating?
We never had a conversation about the extent of your business. The moment I heard the business.
I didn't say that I talked to you about the business. I said we are trying to purchase the property. And as soon as I mentioned, you said, I'm not going to talk about that.
I mean, those are the only things that you said, and you named the name of the property. But it's really important to understand, I can't broker the property.
But you did upload.
I didn't handle that either. What happens is it finally comes to us after a process. In terms of the process, I don't think we can legally, all of us as council people, start saying, well, hey, let's go to the highest bidder. We have to go through your process, which would be very specific, correct? As a real estate person, you would know this.
Correct, yeah, the process has to run through the brokerage, we're the exclusive agent for the property. So any inquiries, any offers would run through us, and we immediately present those to the city for review.
Brian, it's not a common practice to tell the other agent you're not going to pay commission. My client is paying commission up from his pocket. It's not common. There's so many things that it was broken in between that this is the last chance we have to come here and tell the city somebody has to hear us out, you know.
And he didn't, excuse me, and he didn't accept any another offer. He stopped him to get another offer. He said, no, city doesn't want to give another offer. Stop, he said.
Yeah, I totally understand, but just know that I wasn't part of it. Anyway,
No,
We are not saying that.
no, we are saying we really treat not fair. Who comes 6 days in the city of Blanco, and I'm 6 years there, I didn't treat fair.
And based on the assumption that he's going to perform. The man is performing, his record shows that he's performing. He pays the most money, all cash, no contingencies. There's something wrong with the picture.
And yesterday she was in the lot. She saw we are really overflowed. We don't have place to parking. She was yesterday, she saw the lot. We have like 500 trucks.
Yes.
Over 10 million
Mr.
inventory.
Mayor,
Why you don't want to accept me? Somebody come to one place, the place last 6 years, 6 owner change. And you as city 2-3 times lost the money, $500,000 on Mazda. Another. Why you want to give to him? I'm here, I give you cash. Why you say no? I treat not fair.
Yeah, Brian, if you can just address the process in terms of, I'm not a realtor, obviously, and I don't sell properties, but it would, at some point, you have to evaluate the offers that you've received. and determine whether those are acceptable offers. This is not an ongoing process that has no end in sight, okay? Again, in all fairness to you, at least based on where I stand, you're correct. You've shown interest on this property for some time, and throughout our process, obviously, even at the best, the way I look at it, and that's just me, and the broker obviously made recommendations that would consider your letter offers.
Yes.
But as far as I'm concerned, if I was to look at it based on the market process, is that your best and final offer to this process was $550,000.
But I'm sorry,
Right?
800.
No, $550,000 and
Let me really explain here.
excuse me, there was no price. At the time, there was no price. Brian was saying, make an offer.
yeah, I do have.
Right, we have from 550, we went all the way to 850. And Mr. Brian has a fiduciary duty to do his best to bring the highest offer on the table. And that wasn't done, I'm sorry. Two different occasions, I have the email, I have the letter that I sent him, I said, we are willing to beat anybody's price. We are willing to participate. Yeah, I have it right here. I can give the copy to you.
We can look at that. The action today is to transfer the property, and we have another card. So
Yes.
Okay, look, before we go on, let me explain though,
Please.
a little bit about the role of this group. Our job is to dispose of existing property in the former redevelopment agency and see that the taxing agencies that had entered into a contract with the redevelopment agency get their money back, if you want to put it that way, or get the proceeds. So our job is to see that the taxing agencies that entered agreement with the redevelopment agency get the funding from the remaining property.
Understood.
What's being discussed is essentially the sale of this to some agency or individual.
Don't
We
you
get the property, what's presented is the sale to the city of Norco. It doesn't preclude the city of Norco from selling this property to anyone else under the city council's control and the city manager. It just takes this successor agency and former members of the redevelopment agency out of the transaction.
I understood.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very well. Why somebody else from out of town takes over the property and he doesn't get the chance to get it? Forget about my commission.
All
I
what
pass
I'm
on that.
saying is that he is not eliminated from continuing to discuss with the city and making an offer to the city at any time.
Right.
But the offer is.
It just takes the successor agency out of any transaction to the future.
So,
If it approves the sale.
may I ask, the offer that we have in our hand, all cash 850,000. Nobody's gonna look at it?
It's not this group's job to do
Not
that.
this.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
Not today.
Okay,
What we're doing is just transferring this property
my mistake, sorry.
and selling it back to the city. Okay, so that we can make those who have the tax entities whole from that. That's our job here. Those discussions need to take place in another forum, not here.
Okay, but do we still have a chance? Do we still have a chance?
It's not up for us to decide.
I have a question.
That's not a question for us.
The question is that if the city decided to keep the property and sell it in this way, why not to me? That is my question. I need the place. If you want to sell it, I give you the high bid. If you want to sell it, if you want to keep it like how you did with the Blanco, why you don't want to do to me? That is my question.
We can't answer that.
And they
here.
don't, they didn't.
No, you made decision as city, what do you mean you cannot answer?
No,
This board did not.
this board
This
does
is
not.
City
a
council
committee.
did.
that-
No transaction can happen until this action happens, because this is with the successor agency. So we have another card, so let's go through that.
Lisa Campbell.
Hi.
So I read the comment about the $850,000 offer as well. So on my day off yesterday, I went over there to Norfolk Rec Center and I said, I want to see this offer because if it's true, then we've got a problem. So I talked to one of the guys there and then I talked to Vincent, and then I talked to him last night. But I'm going to say I went through all the emails that were submitted or that went on between Alfred and Brian, and I'm extremely disturbed by the unethical stuff that I've seen. This man would write an email and he would not respond. This man wrote emails stating, I will beat any offer. Okay, was that presented to you, Andy? That though he'll beat any offer in cash? Obviously, I'm thinking it's not, since you didn't mention it.
Again, there was a process that was established for the sale of the property.
Okay,
That
the
process.
city is supposed to be looking out for the citizens' best interest.
And that's exactly what I believe the city is.
Why is the city loaning our money to another agency when this man will give us cash? This oversight board, in my opinion, should not approve this deal. It should go back to the oversight board. It should go back to the city council. Why are we taking money out of our coffers to give another company a loan when we've got a company that's established that's got $850,000 in cash to pay? It doesn't make any sense at all. And when, first of all, has anybody gone and looked at that property lately? The fence is torn down, the sign's down, the weeds are 3 feet high, it's freaking ridiculous. It's a city-owned property, we're trying to sell it, we're trying to get the best dollar. Do you know how long your sign's been down for?
The last time I was here, I went out to see the sign.
When was that?
Oh, that was a month ago.
And was the sign down?
No, but, you know, the last couple of weeks.
I mean, the whole thing, you know, when I look at the emails and I look at the dates and the responses, it's months in between. And when he makes an offer and this person never comes back with a counter offer, there's a problem. There's a huge problem with the ethics of that real estate company. And I feel that the city is opening ourselves up to yet another lawsuit because of the unethical deals. And this oversight board should think twice before they approve it because, again, you're setting us up for more liability.
Brian, may I tell you,
Hold on, I just want to speak to one of your points because I want it on the record that we didn't do anything unethical. We followed the process in accordance with the dissolution law, which is mandated by the state. Now, the frequency with which that we send responses to Al, we kept him up to date. Yeah, there were periods of time where the city was fully vetting the buyers and evaluating all the offers, and we got back to him once the city, our duty is to present these offers to the city for them to evaluate.
Brian, every 5 calls I made to you, maybe you returned 1. Everything is documented. And
But if I have nothing
listen,
to
Brian,
update you with, Al,
please.
if I have nothing to update you
One
with,
It's
other
my
thing.
turn.
I'm
It's
sorry.
my turn. Here's where I have a really huge problem. In one of the emails that I read, it said, he will beat any offer by $5,000. So his highest offer is $800,000. The email's right here, Brian, don't shake your head no.
sure, well,
Get it out.
put it on the record because
He said he'd beat any offer, and he suggested the open auction and increments go up by $5,000. So his highest offer is $800,000. You've already said you present every offer to the city. So the city comes in and offers $805,000. How does that work? That is so unethical, it's not even funny. The city knows what the bids are, and the city's buying the property. So how does that work? The city knows what the bids are, so they know to outbid it. This is so unethical, it is beyond.
You can keep that.
You
There's so
should
many
give them
things
all
that
your
I need to read
emails.
to you. If somebody cares to look
Mr.
at-
Alfred, give them all your emails.
Absolutely.
They need to see just what they're dealing with this company. It's disgusting.
John, let me ask you a question. From my viewpoint, I'm an old-fashioned guy and I deal with paper. Is an email a legal offer? Because it can be sent from anyone.
No, that's right.
Okay, so
And I think that,
if
like, for
it's
example,
not,
the
if it's not,
800,000.
let me clarify. If
Give
it's
them
not
the
written on a
800,000.
piece of paper,
Give me the
signed
800,000.
by a appropriate individual, there's no legal offer.
Well, I mean, the broker knows it how to, I mean, he's
No, sir.
experienced in submitting.
Let me clarify this.
And,
No, I've just asked this question of of supposed offers that come through email. Those are not legal offers.
He's got
Those
a
are
written
not-
contract for
Sir,
$800,000
I need 5
after
contracts,
offer.
not
I'm just
all.
talking about the email comment, okay? Emails are not legitimate offers. You have to have a written document signed by the appropriate responsible individual.
There is
And
one.
yes, and I think, and I'm asking, I guess, that the last one that I'm aware of is for $800,000.
That was the last offer, and then that's what we submitted to the city. We presented that to the city as I mentioned in an email. to
And then the
Mr.
city
Sherman.
beat that offer by 5,000, which he said in his suggestion that the increments should go up by 5,000. Now, you already said as soon as you get an offer, you present it to the city. So the city knows what they're offering and then they offer more. How does that work? How is that ethical?
I can't speak to whether or not it's, the city's decision to make that call.
This is a shady backdoor deal
I'm sorry, but
because
city's
Hemworth wants
decision is
that
based on
property.
what you put on the
City decided it's
table.
worth more than that.
All the offers were put on the table.
Isn't that true? City's decision, you are their ear and
Yeah.
eye.
First
Whatever
of
you
all,
put,
When
whatever
you
you
have
present on the
viable
table.
offers, why is the city even bidding? Why is the city taking money out of the taxpayers' dollars when we have somebody willing to make a cash offer? Why?
And more.
And what,
No, I think we're misunderstanding some of the stuff. Remember, what this successor agency goal today is to transfer from the successor agency to the city, the property. That's it.
I understand. But last meeting, the meeting was held, Brian told me that this meeting is a closed session and it's not public, you cannot show up. And 2 different occasions, I wrote him and explained that please ask the city officials, it's right here, that please come and visit the place, that it's exploding. The man is short of space.
Understand?
Have you heard that? Have you heard from Brian? There was such a demand from my client. Nobody showed up. It was totally ignored.
And my last question, Mr. Bryan, you refused to get another offer in the last offer?
My charge
Yes or
was,
no? No, I don't want to answer, yes or no?
No.
I'm gonna.
No, yes or no,
You're
please.
gonna give me a chance to answer or not?
No, I don't want to answer.
Because
I
if
want
not,
those-
then I'm not
No,
gonna
no,
answer.
I want all those people see, yes or no, that's it. Because he said we don't have time. Please, yes or no?
We have plenty of time, and I'm gonna answer
Please,
it appropriately.
yes
If you
or
won't
no?
let me answer it appropriately, then I'm not gonna answer.
Go ahead, please, answer.
Thank you. When we got your last offer of 800,000, the first thing I did was submit that to the city for their review. There was no mention of 850,000, there was no mention of anything above 800,000, okay? The only emails that we received were to update you on the process. Has the city made a decision yet? And we submitted everything to the city for their review to update you on the process. Now, the frequency of calls, when we have information from the city with respect to a decision, we notify the buyers, okay? So, for all the calls that you made to me, all the emails, we cataloged it all, and we submitted it to the city. The city hadn't made a decision at that point, and it's my role as its broker to submit all the offers to you, to the city, and have them to make a decision on what they want to do moving forward. If that decision is for the city to purchase the property for a certain amount, then it's my duty to notify the buyer, the prospective buyer, what the offer could potentially be. I would appreciate it if you sit down. Thank you.
Why
I
do you
think
keep
you have
saying
to-
it's the city's duty to buy the property? It's the city's duty to sell the property, not buy the
But-
property.
Well-
Excuse me, look, what we're doing here today is transferring ownership of the property
But
from
we
the
shouldn't.
successor agency to the city. The city doesn't own anything right now.
Right, the successor agency is a separate legal entity that is charged by the state to sell the property.
Call the question.
This is your letter saying, December 31st.
There's no.
They don't know what that
Submit
means.
your last and final offer. Since then, you took a lot of offers. It wasn't the
Okay,
last
let's go.
So,
Based on this, for resolution 21606, I need a motion to.
motion to approve.
I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion from Ms. Dash and a second from Vice Chairman.
Chair Malone,
Yes.
Vice Chair McGregor,
Yes.
Board members Kevin Bash,
Yes.
Linda Dixon,
Yes.
Brian Petrie.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, no new business, so meeting adjourned.
You want to submit it?
Yes, absolutely.
Would you send copies to all the council members of those, please?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No,
It's
it's obvious.
processes.
Thank you.
You.
Thanks
So,
for coming.
street light meeting at 10 o'clock?
We have street lights. Oh, okay, yeah, we are looking at W.R. Collins,
You asked me.
Also,
actually, what we have is a luncheon meeting with W.R. Collins.
Last night.
It's 11:30, should be 10 o'clock.